Alright, let's jump into the stream, shall we? Let's get started. Okay, before we kick off, we'll wait a little while longer to see if people jump into the stream. For now, we'll just do a brief recap of what we've done so far, and then we'll start the stream for real in a few minutes. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've been working on. In today's stream, we want to finish off our top-down RPG game. And we've been going through the top-down tutorials on GameFruit, making a top-down RPG game. And we have made some decent progress. Okay, let's give the game a little bit of a play and see where we're at. Okay, so we had a start menu, we've got our playable game, we can attack, we can move around, we can be attacked, we can lose health, we can make enemies lose health, they chase after us. If we're in range, we can get health potions in our inventory. We can use them to gain health, and we can talk to a friendly NPC that gives us a quest. I just did the quest, so I'll go talk to him, and we set up win conditions in our game, which sends us to that you win screen. And we also made it so that when you die, you go to the you lose screen. So all of that's hooked up and working, and we could go and make it nicer and prettier, especially on the menu screens. We could make those a bit nicer. And the game itself, we could add a lot more to this game. We could expand the rooms, we could make it a fairly complicated dungeon. We could have more friendly NPCs that give us more quests, and we could have more stuff to do. But this is pretty simple just to get the various points across of what you could do. Okay. So we might as well get started. Okay. So let's jump back into GameFruit's splash screen, and then we will start for real. Alright, let's start the stream. Welcome to GameFruit's Code Talk, a live digital technology stream on how to code real video games powered by real game developers. I'm Dave and I'm your host. Today we're going to talk about finishing up our top-down game. We got 7 sessions under our belt. This is the 8th one, and we're going to wrap up our game and add a few features in. And we're going to be going through the top-down tutorials and the tutorial sidebar to finish this off. So let's jump into our game. Let's view our games. We were working on our top-down RPG for Twitch. Okay. Okay, so let's open up that tutorial and have a look at the top-down game. Okay, so we got up to week 7. We improved our inventory. We made it so we could use health potions. We fixed up some of that overlapping. We added in our menu screens. That was pretty cool. And we also did a little bit of week 8. We made it so that we can win the game, which happens when we complete that quest. We edited our friendly NPC and we made it so that when they're doing all this checking of where you're at in your quests, they checked if you have completed the quest and you haven't got the reward, it's going to send you to the you win screen right there. So that's how we made that work. Now, you probably would want to go and add more different types of quests, different friendly NPCs. Some of them, you wouldn't want them all sending you to the you win screen because then you'll never get through your game. You want the final one to send you to the you win screen. So that's where we got up to. What we want to try next is adding in some doors to our game, some teleporters. We'll talk about how they work, and then we'll talk about publishing our game. And if we've got time, we might go through some of the bonus material. Okay, so let's play our game, just see where everything's at. Got our start screen that we made. We got the button that works. We can move around. We can attack. We've got some health. We can go and fight some bad guys and they can damage us and we can damage them. Health potion there. If we open up our inventory, we can use that. Nice. And our friendly NPC will ask us to get rid of all those orcs, which we just did. Yep, done it. So talk to him again and you win. Okay, so we're going to expand some of the features in this game. The doors will do that. Okay, doors. Where would be a good spot for a door? How about here? That looks like the perfect spot for a door. Let's have a look at our walls tile map. So if we go to our media sidebar and have a look at doorways in there. Now we want to make sure when we put a door in that we don't actually put it in the tile map. If we do, we can't program it to open and close. If you right click on that, there's no way of adding a script to it. So I'll delete that. We don't want that to be in that layer. We actually want to put the doors on the props layer or any other layer. Now in my walls layer, I'm going to put a couple of doorways, what do you call these? Walls, I guess. Walls that connect to the door. And then I'll go and put my door in, like that. And there is also an archway that we can put over the top of the door. If I pop that in there, it's actually getting hidden behind the walls that are over the top of that. So if you use the archway, you want to make sure you put it on a layer above everything else, but obviously not above the user interface. So I'll make a new layer, and this new unnamed layer, I'll double click on it to rename it top layer, and I'll put that underneath my user interface. So everything that goes in the top layer should appear above the characters and above the walls. So just put that in place. Okay. Now let's see what it looks like without adding anything else. We got a door in there. If I go and walk down to that, obviously I can just push things around because I haven't programmed those objects yet. So I want to go and set up some code on them. Okay, the archway there, we already have some code for objects such as these crack decorations on the floor, we have a look in our code, we should have something along the lines of not solid. So if I just put that on my archway, it will do whatever not solid is, which is it'll disable as physics, which is good. We don't want to be able to push that around. Now the door is a different case. For the door, we want to be able to touch it, and then when we touch it, it should open. And maybe we could look at keys and locked doors. If we've got time, we will cover that. For now, we'll just assume when you touch the door, you can open it, but it will start out closed. So let's add a script to our door and figure out how we want it to behave. So right click on that and add script. Now, we want this to start out solid, so we'll say from events we want when created, and then from physics we want near the bottom we want set immovable true. When created, set immovable true, that makes it solid. Now when I touch it, I want it to open, so it needs to do two things there. Play its opening animation, and it does have animations, we'll have a look at them in a sec. And we also want it to not be solid anymore, so we'll disable its physics so that it opens up and we can walk through it. So let's go to physics, because we want to detect when the player touches it. So that's physics, when I am touched, get toucher. And for us to have this trigger only when the player touches it, we want to ask if the toucher had the player tag. So we need an if block from control flow. We need a toucher has, we just need a toucher block from variables, instance toucher. We'll drag that out, and then we're going to connect it into a block from sensing, under tagging, myself has tag name. Myself has tag name. And then we'll get rid of the myself, because we don't want to know if the door has a tag. We want to know if the toucher has a tag, so that we can ask if the toucher is tagged as player. If it was the player that touched the door, we want to open the door, so play the opening animation. From animation, let's grab a play animation block and connect that into the if block. Now what is the name of this animation? Well, if you don't know, you want to go to and have a look at the animation. Here's how to do that. You want to click, let's just close out of that script there and save that. For now, we'll call this our door. And then we want to right click on the door and view its animation. Let's see what animations it has. So this door has idle and open. Idle looks like this, open looks like that. Good, let's close out of that. Back in the script, so edit the script on that door again. When the player touches the door, we don't want to play the idle animation now, we want to play the open animation. And make sure it's spelled the same way that you saw in the animation editor there. And if you forgot, you can always go and close this and right click view animation and see that. So that was open. And then we want to disable its physics, so that's from physics. Down the bottom, we want set physics enable true. Change that to false. So it's opening and then disabling its physics. Good. That is a really basic door done. Let's play it. We could even do something fancy like have the door after a second close itself. Let's just have a look at how this works right now. So if I go and walk up to this door, it opens, and then I should be able to walk through it. There we go. Now if we had a key, if the door needed a key, then we would have it ask if the player has the key. If it doesn't, it would stay locked and it wouldn't do this. Okay, so that's a basic door. We might as well add an auto close feature to it. So we're going to say after 1 second, close again, just so we don't get bad guys coming through. It's always a good idea to close doors behind you. So if we go to control flow, we want to grab a block in here under time after 100 milliseconds have passed. And let's connect that under the physics enabled block. And we want this to be 1000 milliseconds. That'll be 1 second. And then we want to set the physics back to true and then play the idle animation again so the door becomes solid again. So let's duplicate those two blocks. And this time we're playing the idle animation. We're setting physics enabled back to true. So after 1 second that will happen. Let's see how that looks now. We'll go and open that door. Can we walk through it? Yes. And then it closed itself again. I'll walk up to it. That's pretty cool. Auto closing door. Now because the doorway is one tile wide, it can sometimes be tough fitting in there. You've just got to kind of line the character up. Sometimes it's easier if you build your walls accordingly so that it's easier to slide on, and you could add some walls like that. Then it'll be super easy to walk in. Anyway, let's move on to the teleporters. Okay, for teleporters, what we're going to do is have something like a staircase or maybe even a door. You could have a door that works as a teleporter. It's going to send you to another level, and it's also going to send you to a specific spot in that level. So for this, I'm going to need another playable level. Right now, my level 3 is You Win, but I want to add an extra level in between 2 and 3. So I'm going to right click on 2 and duplicate that level. And if I click on this arrow here, I can see level 5 is my duplicated level. Now, if I open up the levels sidebar in here, I can see the order of my levels. And this new level 5, I want to drag it so it's under the second level, which is called level 1. So I might rename level 1 actually. If I click on that cog there, I'll call this Dungeon 1. And then my third level I will call Dungeon 2. Okay, start screen, Dungeon 1, Dungeon 2. Level 3 I really should name You Win. You Win. And then game over. Okay, so that makes a bit more sense, right? So Dungeon 1 has a set of stairs over here. And I want those stairs to take you to Dungeon 2. Okay. Dungeon 1 and Dungeon 2 are copies of each other, so I'll quickly... What would be the quickest way of doing this? I will quickly... I'll delete some stuff and move some things around real quick so they look a little different. I might delete these walls and these floors and that door. And when you're making your level properly, you want to plan out a little bit how you want it to look. But for now, I'm just kind of doing a quick and nasty job of it, which is fine, just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so every level needs to have a player character, or else when you go to that level, you won't be able to run around. You'll have nothing to control. So let's fix up these walls. And I'll move that down there. Okay, so this looks like a little bit of a different room. a little bit of a different room. What could I chuck in here? Maybe I'll put some more props along this wall, just so it doesn't look like anywhere that you've seen before. Or we could have a cool throne there too. Okay, so I've got this level, and then I've got this level, and I want to teleport to this from level 2 to level 3. And I'll go and give the I'll give the solid object code to some of these as well. Okay. So we've got another level we can teleport to. Now we can actually go make the teleporter work. So I wanted my staircase here to teleport you up to level 3. And maybe if you go to level 3, that's where you get a health potion. So I'll delete this. Delete that health potion and put it in level 3 instead. Put a few of them around here. Okay, and then I'll give them that health potion code that we made. Where is it? Health potion. Very good. And when you get into this room, you need a way of escaping as well, right? You can't just be trapped in here. So let's have a look at the media sidebar. What have we got in here that we could use? There's some stairs going down. You can see in level 2, stairs go up. In level 3, our stairs will go down. How about we put them... Oh, have we been putting things on the user interface layer? We have, okay. We want to make sure we put things on the props layer. So I'll just delete those potions. And we want to get the health potion code. Oh, actually, we want to get our health potions and put those in our props layer. And there we go. Okay, good. Let's give them their code again. Health potions. Nice. Okay, now teleporter there and teleporter here. Our stairs here already had the solid object code on them, so I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to make a new script for how teleporters will work. So let's right click on our stairs and add a script. Now the teleporter should not get moved around, so again we want to say when created from events, and then from physics down the bottom we want to say set immovable to true, so it's solid. And again we want to detect when the player touches it, so from physics we want when I am touched, get toucher. Then we want an if block from control flow, and we want to know if it was the player that touched us, so we're looking for the tag from sensing. Under tagging, myself has tag, the tag name is player, and myself we can throw in the trash. Okay, now myself gets replaced with instance toucher from variables. So if I'm touched by the player, what do I want to do? I want to teleport the player. Now to do this, I need to know a bit of information before I go sending the player away. I need to know where I want the player to go and what level I want the player to go to. So we will use global variables for that. And we haven't talked about global variables yet, but let's go grab some and I'll explain how they work. So we've got regular variables here. We don't want those. We want global and local. So we'll click global and local and click global variable, and it says global variables hold values that can be read anywhere in the entire game. So any object on any level can read the value of these. We'll click create global variable and we'll make our first global variable called player starting X position, and the type will be number. And you can see global variables have more limited data types: true, false, number, and text. We want ours to be a number. Player starting X position. Okay, then we want another one for player starting Y position. So we'll create that global variable, player starting Y position. And it'll also be a number. Now we'll drag those out into our if block. Global number starting X and global number starting Y. And what are we going to set them to? What are their values going to be? Well, we're going to have a few different teleporters in our game. We know that we've got one in this level, and then in the level that we go to, we need to have a teleporter that can send you back. So we're going to have at least 2 teleporters. And both teleporters are going to use this script. So they're going to have their own idea about where they want the player to go. One teleporter will say, hey, player, go over here. The other teleporter will say, oh, player, you actually need to go over here. So different numbers. We're going to store those numbers as different property variables that will live on different specific teleporters. So we've got this global variable, which is saying, player, you need to go to this place. And then each teleporter is going to have its own version of where it wants to send the player to. So we'll store that as a variable. So let's go to variables and click create variable. And we'll name this send player to this X position. And that'll be a number type. And then again, we want to create one for the Y position. So this will be called send player to this Y position. And that will be a number. Okay, now let's grab the block that says number, send player to this X position, and connect it to the global variable that sets the starting X position. And then the same thing for the Y. So we'll go to variables and grab number, send player to this Y position and connect that in. Now you're probably looking at this and thinking, well, we're setting a variable to the value of another variable. Well, don't we still need to set the value of this next variable then? And that's true, we do. And we're going to do something special for that. We are going to have these variables made public. And I'll talk about that in a sec. Now, we talked about the positioning of the player, that's good, but what about the level that they're going to go to? So let's grab the block for that now. If we go to control flow, and up the top here we want go to next level, we'll drag that underneath these global variables. But we don't want to send them to the next or the current or whatever. We'll drag out next level. And we're going to replace it with a number. But the number is also going to be a variable, like these two. We're going to make another variable. So we'll go to variables, create variable. This one will be called send player to this level. Send player to this level, and it'll be a number. And then we'll drag number send player to this level into the go to level block. Okay, so we have 3 variables that we need to have values for. What we could do is we could just say when created, set the level and set the X position and set the Y position, and then we could put numbers in there. So we could say send player to level 3, and we could say, now I'm saying we could, but we're not actually going to do this. And we could go to X position 1000 and Y position 500. We could do that. The problem with this is every teleporter will get these values, and none of them will be unique. They'll all do the exact same thing, which we don't want. We want level 2's teleporter to take us to level 3, and we want level 3's teleporter to take us to level 2. So we can't be setting the values like this. So if you've copied this, throw those away. What we actually want to do is make these values public variable values. So we'll go up into our script properties menu then, click script properties, and then send player to this level needs to be ticked where it says public. Tick that. Send player to this X position. Tick that as well. Send player to this Y position. Tick that. Don't tick toucher instance because we don't care about that. We just want to send the player to a level and an X and Y position. Okay, and now the name for the script, let's call it teleporter. Good, now we can click done and close that script and save it. Now, we're going to give those variables their values. We right click on our stairs there, or our teleporter, and select edit object behavior. We should see a list of public variables, but they haven't shown up, so we'll just go and open the script again and make sure that they actually got ticked. So click on that script properties menu and just they've unticked themselves, so we just need to go make sure we tick them again. It's just a little bug, but we'll fix that soon. Then you can click done and close that again, save that. They should now be saved in there. So if we right click on the teleporter and select edit object behavior, now we can see we have these variables shown and we can just type in the values that we want. So send player to this level, we want to be sending them to level 3. X and Y position, I'm not sure. Let's close that and let's open level 3. Okay, so the stairs are here, right? When you climb up the stairs, you should pop out around here. So what is the position of that? We can see in our layers panel, X and then a number and then Y and then a number. So my player should pop up around there. That's X 130 and Y 200, roughly. X 130, Y 200. So I need to remember those numbers. If I go back to level 2, and right click on that teleporter there, those stairs, and edit object behavior. The X position I want to send the player to is 130 and the Y position was 200 and it was on level 3. So that's good. Now this particular teleporter knows to send them to level 3 with an X of 130 and a Y of 200. Good. Let's test it and see if our player actually gets sent there. I'm just going to save my game. Always a good idea to save, file save, and then play it. And I will attempt to use those stairs. I need to get past these guys first, don't I? So I'll walk up to them, touch them, boom, it sends me. Now, it sent me to the correct level, but it didn't position me properly. The reason for that is the player needs to know when the level starts, send me to player starting X and player starting Y, those global variables. We need to actually use those on the player. Otherwise, the player will just pop up wherever we place them in our level, which is right there in the center. I actually want my player to appear there. So I'm going to edit my player script and take advantage of those global variables. So I'll right click on my player and edit that player script. Okay, so the player needs to know when the level starts. I need to be positioning myself properly. So do we have a when the level starts block? We don't, that's good. We will add one in. So from events, I'll grab when the level starts. And the player needs to position themselves based on those global variables that have been set by the teleporter. So we need to be setting the position of the player. That's from transform. We want set X position of myself to, so we'll grab one of those. Now it's not going to go to 0, so we can throw 0 away. And same thing for the vertical position, we want to be setting the Y position. So we'll duplicate set X position of myself, and we will change that to Y. Set Y position of myself. It's not going to go to 0, it's going to go to those global variables we set up. So click on global and local over there and grab global number, player starting X position, and connect it to the X position. So now the player is going to position themselves to wherever that number says to go to. Same thing for the Y position. Okay, let's test it out. Now, I'm going to warn you ahead of time, this might give us a problem. Let's see if it does. Yes, okay. So the game is confused and it has gone and sent me, it doesn't know where to position the player. That's the problem. So if I close the game and go back into my script, I'll explain what the problem is. So my first level, I haven't actually set the value of the player's starting X position or the player's starting Y position. If you remember, the values on those blocks were actually set when we touched the teleporter. So it's setting the values for those global variables when we touch the teleporter. But we haven't touched the teleporter yet, have we? When the level starts, we can't have gone and touched that teleporter because we haven't got there yet. So our player needs to only position themselves to those global variables if these variables actually have a value. If they don't have a value, the player should think, well, I'm not just going to get teleported into no man's land, because that would be bad. So I'm going to ask, does this variable actually have a value? And in programming, we can check if a variable has a value by checking if its value is null or not. So we want to check a condition, we need an if block, right? So that's from control flow. Grab this if block and connect it into when the level starts. And then we'll connect these two positioning blocks inside the if block. When the level starts, we want to know if this global number variable has a value. So we'll ask if it equals something. So we'll go to operators and grab this equals block up the very top, connect it to the if block. Now we want to know if it's not valueless, if it's not null. So we will go to global and local and grab global number, player starting X position, put it in the left there. So does that value not equal null is what we want it to say. So we're going to change equals to not equals, which has that line through the equals there. So if player starting X position is not, and we want this part to say null. Null means it has no value. So we go to operators and grab null there near the top. Operators null. Okay, so if the variable has a null value, or if it doesn't have a null value, it's going to teleport us. If it was null, it won't do any of this. Okay, let's play the game now and make sure that worked. So I will go and oh yeah, it did, of course, because the game loaded in, right? So if it loaded in successfully, that meant the player ignored the fact that those variables were null and didn't bother putting me anywhere. Now here's going to be where we really see if the teleporter works or not. Does it position me? So I touch it and boom, yes, it positioned me in here, and I'm pretty sure that's the right position. To double check that, what I'm going to go and do is put my player in a ridiculous spot. So let's put my player out here. So it'll be pretty obvious if I open this level and I go to this weird spot, then we'll know that the teleporter didn't work. So we'll go defeat these guys. Walk up to the teleporter, which should send me to level 3 and position me near the stairs. And it did. Very good. Now, if you wanted to change slightly where the player gets positioned, you can look at these numbers here in the layers panel. And as you move your mouse around, you can take note of what those X and Y numbers are. Now, here's the other thing. When I get into this room and I want to escape back to my other level, I need to be able to touch these stairs and have them do something. Right now, they don't have a script on them. We're going to use our teleporter script that we made. So let's go to our code sidebar and find our teleporter script that we made, and that looks like this. Has that little blue icon. Yours might have a different icon. So teleporter script, put it on my teleporter, and remember this teleporter is sending me to a different level and to different locations. So I'll right click on that teleporter and edit object behavior. The level I want to go is back to level 2. X and Y, I'm not so sure. Let me close that and have a look at level 2. So when you come down these stairs, you should probably appear about here, right? That is X 1200, Y 130. X 1200, Y 130. So go back to level 3. Edit the object behavior on that teleporter. X was 1200 and Y was 130. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if our teleporters will take us between levels properly. Good. And then going back. Ah, I see what's happening. So I am able to go back, but the orc there is actually pushing me back into the stairs. So you might want to think a bit strategically about where I might just go move that orc, because the orc is instantly pushing me around. Bit of a bully. And he's pushing me up the stairs again, and I'm appearing in that level. But we know the teleporters worked, so that's good. Very good. Now we're getting near the end of the stream here, so I'll wrap it up with the last part, which is how to publish and share your game. And that is a pretty straightforward process. You want to click, you want to save your game first, file, save. And once you're happy with all of the additions you've added to your level, hopefully you can make your game into the kind of experience you'd want to play. If you want to spend more time fleshing out your rooms, definitely go for it. But once you're happy with it, you want to publish it, and that's File, Publish Online. And when you do this, it will upload your game onto Gamefruit so that anyone can then go and play it, and it'll give you a link. So I'm going to publish this now. You can give it a name, and you can give it a summary, a little description of the game. You could also upload a thumbnail if you wanted, optionally. You don't have to. Then you can click Publish, and it'll grab your game files and put them on gamefruit.com. And once it's done publishing, it will give us a link. And if we click on that link, we'll open our game full screen, and we can share that link with other people as well. Just about done. And the cool thing about publishing your game is it also appears in Gamefruit's arcade, where all published games will show up, and you can go and play on them and comment on them as well. So here's our link. If we click on that link, it'll open up our game. Very cool. And we can share that link. If you right click on that and copy link, or if you go into your web browser and copy that, Control C, the link there, you can share that with anyone and they will be able to go and play it. So that is how to publish and share your game. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial series. I hope you learned something. Don't forget, there are a heap of other tutorials in Gamefruit. If you click on tutorials and open up any of these categories and have a look at what we've got on offer, some other ones you might enjoy might be making a platformer game series or interactive fiction series. There's a heap of stuff in there that you could go through and learn and hopefully make a cool little game. So we'll wrap the stream up there. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. That's you can just search up Gamefruit on YouTube, and we've got heaps of videos on there as well. So we'll end it there. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next session.